Hello, everybody, and welcome to West Tigers Faithful for another riveting episode. What a season we're having, and what an episode we have ahead of us. We're joined by three, maybe four of the West Tigers' most faithful fans for what we're calling the podcast party to celebrate the fact that we are somehow equal first on the NRL ladder after, what is it, 6 rounds? 6 rounds, I think. Now, of course, we have had a bye, but I digress. You know, we don't get too many wins here at the West Tigers, so we're not going to downplay anything. As always, I'm joined by Reedie, but also joining us this week, we have Mort from Win, Learn or Draw, Joel Helms from West Tigers Podcast. We have Kelly Hollis, who has a new podcast just dropping in the next 24 hours, and I will let Kelly tell us a little bit more about that in a second. And late arrival, but here he is, the one and only NRL fanatic, the most famous of all West Tigers fans on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. Should we be grateful for your time, Mr. Sir?
Well, no, just happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Before we get started, I just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves. Got a little bit of an icebreaker, a couple of questions, but I'll go around the room and I'll basically ask you to introduce yourself, your name, your podcast, how people can connect with you guys on your podcast, and also three questions. One, Balmain, Magpies or Tigers, West Tigers? Favorite Tiger of all time and favorite current Tiger. Let's start ladies first with you, Kelly.
Thanks, Mac. So hi everyone, I'm Kelly and we are kicking off the Hear Her Roar podcast tomorrow night. So myself and Rach, who is another big West Tigers supporter. So you can find us on Instagram, so Hear Her Roar Pod, and it'll be coming underneath the West Tigers TV umbrella on YouTube. So if you subscribe to West Tigers TV, you'll be able to see all of our stuff go live tomorrow, and then it'll go up on Spotify on Friday. To answer your questions, I have a bit of a mixed bag of a background. So I have a photo of me on Santa's knee in 1981 with Tigger dressed, in a full Balmain Tigers kit. So my mum's side of the family were hardcore Balmain Tigers supporters. Then in 96, 97, I went to every home game for the Magpies. So when they merged in 2000, it was the perfect merger for me. My favorite Tiger of all time is Aaron Woods. You guys talked about him a lot in the last pod. I love Woodsy. He always has time for me whenever I see him, and I just think he's a top bloke. And I actually don't have a current favorite Tiger because I don't have favorites because they all leave. Woodsy, Josh Allier, Elijah Taylor. Literally, anytime I declared I had a favorite player, they all left. So I no longer have favorite players.
You do seem to have a type, though. You like the dudes that get up and do the dirty stuff in the middle, by the sounds of it.
That's right, yeah.
Clean up around the ruck.
Yeah.
How about you, Joel? Welcome to the potty.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, good to be here. Thank you very much. West Tigers podcast, been around since 2018, which is frightfully scary given it seems like 10 minutes ago. 456 editions and counting, available at YouTube, Spotify, all those usual places that you get podcasts. From the Balmain side of things, grew up in Cogra, should have been a Dragons fan, grew up really close to Cogra Oval, but decided to be a Balmain fan after Balmain beat the Dragons there one day at the first game I ever went to in about 1985, which is scary in itself as well. In terms of Balmain or West Tigers, it's very different because I was about 22 when we changed over, and I was at the first game at Campbelltown and the first trial game at Leichhardt where we played the Northern Eagles, and it's a different experience. It's almost like two different things. Like the Balmain side of me was one thing and then West Tigers is a different thing, but my heart is there just as much as it ever was with Balmain as it is with West Tigers. It'd have to be. Nobody who's here and still a fan should ever have their loyalty tested because we've been through hell and back. Favourite players from the Balmain years, Gary Freeman. I loved Gary Freeman. I thought he was such a great little player. So sad when he left. Darren Santa, Jason Sinclair, lots of good players from the 80s and 90s.
Love that one.
Gareth Ellis would be my number one West Tigers player of all time. Just how could you not love him? He was just tough and talented and consistent and just such a great, not just a great player, but in a team where he just fitted in and complemented so well as well. And favourite current players, I'll be a bit braver than Kelly. I'm gonna name one, Sunia Taruva. I mean, how can you not love him as well with the energy and the claw and the way he throws himself into the line and his finishing ability? We're just so lucky to have him. We're blessed to have him.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Joel, and thanks for being here. Mort, win, learn, or draw.
Yes.
Over to you, my friend.
It's actually quite surreal seeing yours and Joel's face. I've been listening to you guys for a long, long time, so it's an absolute pleasure to be here and be alongside you guys. We're pretty fresh into the podcast, not as fresh as Kelly, considering she hasn't started, but we're pretty fresh. We're about a year and a bit in from the Win, Learn or Draw podcast with my co-host Hammy Goodman, who you might see on the Matty John show Thursday and Sunday nights. My allegiance is to the West Tigers 100%. I was a North Sydney Bears fan until 1999, and doesn't matter what happens, you can never support anything associated with Manly. So I jumped ship pretty quickly then. I was born in Campbelltown, so I probably had a little bit of a lean towards the Magpies if someone had to ask me, but definitely West Tigers through and through since the year 2000. My favourite Tiger of all time is Robbie Farah. I absolutely loved him. He had that golden era, 2009, 2012. 2010, he came second in the Dally M to Todd Carney, ripped off, I would say. And then I don't know if you remember in Origin in 2012, he got the Brad Fittler medal for that series. He made 63 tackles in a game, and he was just like, it was like a pretty tough year for us when we were touted as favourites. And then for him to come out and do that kind of made me really proud to be a Tigers fan again during a tough period. So yeah, Robbie for me. And my favourite Tiger at the moment has to be Alex Twal, to be honest.
I love that.
I've always been a fan, but he has just stepped up massively this year. The other one would be Nakasini. It's a bit weird to say considering I'm old enough to be his dad, but I'm a big fan of him. So yeah, it's my take.
Awesome answers. I love the diversity of opinion. And I actually think I know the answer that you're going to give us, Fanatic. What's your real name, by the way? Do we have to call you Fanatic? Are you like that? Like, are you like Madonna and that protective of your brand? Or can we have your real name?
My real name is Caleb, but Fanatic is just easier because people otherwise they say Caleb.
All right.
They say Caleb, but I just prefer whatever. Like if people call me Callum or Caleb, even though it's not my name, I just go, "Yep, that's me." But yeah, my allegiance is West Tigers. I wasn't even born for Balmain or Magpies. I was born in 03. I am born in Campbelltown though, so if I had to pick, it'd be Magpies. But I'm West Tigers through and through. Favorite current player is pretty obvious. It's Dream Muller. Please stay. And my favorite all-time player, I had a soft spot for Brett Hodgson as a kid, even though he retired before I even really watched him play. The other reason I liked him is because I played one game for Ingleburn RSL Tigers, and I had the footy cards, and that was his junior club, and I just thought it was so cool, even though it really was no big deal. So then I just said I liked Brett Hodgson as a kid, even though I never really watched him. As a kid, I loved Benji, obviously, and then I had a soft spot for Tim Moulton. I don't know why, and Keith Galloway. And yeah, my podcast is the Heart of the Jungle Pod. I started it this year with Matty G from Speak Free. We've only just started. We've got 5 episodes. 6th one's coming tomorrow. Yeah, we're pretty new to it. We're sorting out little kinks with we just did an online one the other day, last week, and then our second one this week, and we're still trying to sort all that. But we get the hang of it pretty quickly, I think. And yeah, it's great fun.
I mean, you've got a good, partner in crime there with Matty G. Obviously, he's the preeminent West Tigers podcaster these days, I would say. I want to just thank you guys all for joining us. This is the biggest collaborative episode that we've done before. We've done a few collabs with other teams, podcasters. We did Cowboys collab. We've done episodes with Joel before on West Tigers podcast and stuff like this. But getting a whole bunch of us together is something unique. And the reason that we're doing it is pretty obvious because West Tigers are killing it. And we want to have a party, right? So this is the West Tigers podcast party. Before I go on, I do feel like it's appropriate to let Reedie speak because this is the longest that we've gone on a West Tigers Faithful episode without Reedie having a chance to speak. So, Reedie, why don't you answer the same questions everybody else answered?
I'm on it. I don't think I'm going to be as insightful as the rest, but I'll try and get it done quickly for the sake of everybody else around here. Hello, everyone. My name is Jared Reedie. I like long walks on the beach, and I like the West Tigers. I come from a reasonable lineage of Magpie supporters. My uncle played in the lower grades for them. My cousin played Harold Matthews for them. And I've watched plenty of tape of them in my lifetime, but I was not sentient when the West Magpies were around, so it'll be West Tigers for me for life. My favourite West Tiger of all time, same as Joel, Gareth Ellis, just a phenomenal footballer. Our win-loss record with him in the side and out of the side speaks for itself. 3 Player of the Year awards, and we were never the same since when he left. Favourite current Tiger for me, it is one Upper Side Coruscant, the Fossil. I think he is phenomenal. For him to come over during our lowest ebb and to continue to perform week in, week out, and for him now to be reaping the rewards of a genuine squad that is wonderful, is a credit to him, because there are players of similar ability that have jumped ship, and he stuck true. The one controversial Tigers take that I sit here that is an optional one that no one else took up, I'll say this. If the Robbie Farah, Gordon Tallis feud doesn't happen in 2014, we win the comp.
Whoa. Thank you.
I can tell that side is my mastermind category. James Tedesco, Marika Korobidi, Pat Richards, David Nofaluma, Tim Simona, Chris Lawrence. Take your pick of Blake Austin, Mitch Moses, Luke Brooks, Braithen Astor, of course, the Greek freak in the halves. Our front row was Aaron Woods, Robbie Farah, Keith Galloway. That was sensational. Our back row, we had Bodine Thompson, Adam Blair was there as well. Liam Fulton, of course, in his later years. And then the bash bench. James Gavay, Jesse Sidaleki Akawala, need I say more?
What a crew.
I think we would have won the comp. We beat both grand finalists that year, and we didn't just beat them, we dunked on them. We put 40 on the Dogs, and we made South Sydney look stupid on a Friday night in round 3. I think if it's not for Gordy telling the entire world that Robbie told him that Mick Potter couldn't coach, I reckon we win the comp.
It's a pretty fair take. And I think you'd be speaking to the converted there, preaching to the choir. This is West Tigers Faithful. This is Mac and Reedie's podcast. I'll answer the question too. If you don't know how to listen to West Tigers podcast, I am concerned about how you are here. So I don't necessarily need to explain to you how to find our podcast. I'm a Balmain Tiger, but obviously West Tiger, to the point that was made earlier. You can't just be a Balmain or Magpies fan. It was a trick question. The correct answer was West Tiger. Right, that's the correct answer. My favourite all-time Tiger is probably Farah, but gee, it's a hard question to narrow down to one answer, isn't it? And my favourite current Tiger, it changes all the time, but right now it's got to be Jock, right? It's got to be Jock Madden. What a bloody legend. Jock Madden, he's come back. He's now looking like Andrew Johns. He's a freaking legend. Let's get on with the show. What I want to start with is just talking about news. Now, generally, when we start our episode talking about news, there's some sort of boardroom scandal to talk about, some players threatening to leave. There's always something to talk about at Tiger Town, but it seems like every week these days when we try to do the news segment, it's just like something good to talk about. All right. So I did a little bit of the rounds to try to figure out what's in the news cycle for the West Tigers. And aside from the fact that we won and we keep winning and all of this stuff, something did pop up today, and that's that the West's Group MacArthur has announced that they're going to invest $620,000 in grassroots rugby league support throughout the MacArthur region in 2026, acknowledging their continued support since 2022. This investment is anchored by a $400,000 funding commitment that supports 23 clubs across Campbelltown, Liverpool, Camden, Wallandelli, Wingacarriby. Is that how you pronounce that?
Wingacarriby, my friend, that's the Southern Highlands.
Wingacarriby, representing close to 500 teams and approximately 9,000 players. The timing couldn't be better off the back of, finally breaking the Campbelltown hoodoo, setting up another Campbelltown epic this weekend. So hats off to West Group MacArthur. And I think, investing in the MacArthur, whether you're on the Balmain side of the merger or the West side of the merger, everybody knows that that's where the West Tigers have the most potential to grow our development grassroots. And I just wanted to shout out that, which brings me to my next point. What is happening, guys? Like, I'm confused because, like, I thought I supported the West Tigers, but it seems like suddenly I support the Penrith Panthers. Like, did we switch timelines at some point? Is this really happening? Or more to the point, are we living in a simulation? Like, is it just me or is the world all topsy-turvy? I'll throw it over to you first, Joel. What is your take? Are we living in a simulation or is this really happening?
Sometimes, you know, when you wake up in the morning and the first thing you think about is like, you know, what have I got to do today? And then the other thing that pops into your head is did the West Tigers really just win 3 games in a row? Are we in this new world? It is a little bit like that. But then the other side of me sort of goes, well, you know what? I kind of feel with our club, and probably you guys may not agree, a lot of the listeners may not agree, but I kind of think our default position is actually winning. And I know that maybe the records don't show that. I think we've only got like a just on 40% winning record. But I see the club as being a winning club, and I see that being the default position. So I just think we're back to where we should be. And if we continue on the right track and keep making the right decisions and don't blow it all up, Holman Barnes, we're talking about you, if we keep doing the right things, then success should continue to flow through if we've had success yet. But I mean, real success. As you just said there, we've got this huge nursery out there, almost as big as Penrith's. And if we're putting the right resources in there and we're getting everybody on the same page and we've got Balmain to call on and all the other good things we've got going for this club, then we should have higher expectations of how this club performs. So I don't think we're in a simulator. I think we're in our true real world.
Awesome. How do you play, Mort? Do you feel like that Joel's got the right of it, or am I on the right page by thinking that maybe this is, as the Batuta pointed out earlier in the week, I don't know if everybody saw that, but the Batuta Advocate put out an article that said, you know, the final proof that we're living in a simulation has arrived. The West Tigers are on top of the ladder.
Mate, life's all about balance, right? We have been so crap for so long that surely it has to swing the other way around at some point. It just took a little bit longer than we probably hoped, like, I don't know, 15 years. But things like, you know, Westgroup, MacArthur chucking all that money into the juniors is just future-proofing the club and giving me more of an excuse to go there for a schooner pre-game as well. Because I just love seeing peripheral things in and around the club working well at the same time. My biggest, I guess, qualm, or maybe we are in a simulation, is like every time we get to this, like, again, I don't want to be negative and think of 2018, but every time we get to this point, it's like, when is this tumbling? When is this house of cards falling down? And as Tigers fans, it doesn't feel like that's going to happen, which I don't know if that's irresponsible to feel that way. But yeah, everything just feels like foundation just feels more secure, and the club's heading in the right directions. Yeah, fingers crossed, Joel. I agree.
Yeah, I think that the key performance indicator the right word? The key performance indicator is, like, you look around at the people who generally really enjoy ragging on us when we're poor. They're very quiet. And some of them are even saying positive things. You know, I'm talking about the likes of James Graham, Willie Mason, Braithen Nasta. Like, they're not just saying positive things. They're like authentically loving the club. I'll throw it over to you, Fanatic. I mean, you must feel like your feet barely ever touch the ground. I like see your content. You're over in New Zealand. You're like, you know, traveling around all over the place. If anybody here must feel like we're living in a simulation, surely it's you.
Yeah, it feels weird. If you told me any time over the last 15 years that between us and the Storm, that one of us would be top 2, one of us would be bottom 5. The one in the top 2 is on a 3-game winning streak. The other one's on a 3 or 4 game losing streak. I'd never in a million years think it would be us that's at the top. So yeah, it feels really weird. Going every game has been a goal that I wanted to do the last couple of years. This year I'm trying to do it, but it's going to be very difficult because I have not made money at all. So I got the big one out of the way, New Zealand. It's going to be tricky when I have to do Melbourne and Brisbane back to back. But yeah, I'm excited to see if we can continue to be good. I've had my hopes and dreams crushed for my entire childhood and adulthood. So I'm trying to stay hopeful without being too optimistic. because I'm scared.
And Kelly, what do you think? It feels like everybody here is very pragmatic and reasonable and like realistic and reserved and stuff like that. And I don't know if you've all like listened to our podcast on the regular, but if you do, you kind of probably know that I'm a bit of a lunatic and I tend to make extremely like sweeping, bold remarks about like all manner of things. Tell me, are you in camp A where you're, reserving judgment and you're just like, hopefully optimistic? Or like me, do you feel like the tide has completely turned and we're just living in the timeline where we're going to win the 2026 Premiership?
I would love to be with you riding that tide, but I think there's just way too much PTSD, way too much trauma. Like on Sunday, when Newcastle scored those 2 tries, you could hear a pin drop because every single West Tigers supporter in the stands were like, holy shit, are we going to lose this? I just have visions of being at Parramatta Stadium. Benji kicks a field goal at halftime to get us up. I think, why the hell are you kicking a field goal? We're 30 points in front. Parramatta came back and thankfully that field goal was the difference in the end. But, we've all been around the block way too many times. I think a couple of more wins and more people will be joining you on that tide. But at the moment, I'm, erring on the side of being cautiously optimistic, but loving every minute of it at the same time.
Well, I'm a level 10 schizo. So I think that like I've manifested this timeline. So when I say we're living in a simulation, like I go back to 2-3 years ago when Reedie and I founded the West Tigers Faithful podcast as a psychological operation to try to actually manipulate reality into winning us a premiership. So I see this as the culmination of a dream come true. Reedie, have the final word and then segue into the match review, my friend.
Absolutely. I think that we've had more Matt Nable previews in the past month than we have for our entire history. It's very weird. That is quite simulatory. To hear Matt Nable say, how good is this bloke? Insert name. And then continue to wax lyrical about Alex Twal. Like, yeah, that feels like a simulation. And further, given that the last time we won 3 in a row was 8 years ago, as Joel says, you begin to question the fabric of reality around you, particularly when I believe, and you, the panel, are more than welcome to disagree with me, but this was our best performance of the year, that last 5 minutes aside. Kelly, you mentioned that it felt like a pin drop and that, the crowd almost had this preconceived conditioning. I was in the crowd, obviously. My dad introduced me to you with pre-game. And from my perspective, it felt really calm. It was like, oh, what is this feeling? I don't understand it. And it was something that I felt even before kickoff. We mentioned last week on the podcast that just simply reading body language, Parramatta looked far more up for it. And it's very clear that they played their grand final based on how they played against the Gold Coast. But we were a little bit slow out of the blocks. That was not the case this week. That first half, if Benji Marshall wants to hang his hat on any performance this year, you bottle up that first half and you put it on the shelf and you say that is it. That is the template. We were ruthless. I would have loved to have seen a heat map in terms of where the game was played. I can't recall us starting a set inside the 20-metre zone, which was a credit to our defence. Now, obviously, Joey Johns always calls it the 12-point breeze at the backs, and well done, Appy, on winning the toss and ensuring that we were playing towards that. But Sandon Smith was simply diabolical, and that obviously played into our hands. But the attacking execution, it's been something we've been disappointed about for a very, very long time. But again, for that first half, it was sensational. That first try is just unreal shape. Wilson De Courcy, who I've plugged on this podcast, and I still maintain he's a good footballer, but him and Dylan Lucas only have eyes for Patrick Herbert and Kai Pearce-Paul as they are turned back inside by Adam Dewey. AD does his best. Nathan Cleary, impression throwing the ball outside in, and over goes Tito. They run the same shape a little bit later when Jareem scores that try around Apple Pie Gate. And this time you've got Jareem sweeping around and creating an extra man as opposed to him remaining on the open side. And he's almost able to hide. You can see it on that Fox drone as he sweeps through, and it just looked inevitable. That was just sensational. But some of the other work, like obviously we're going to talk about certain players and individuals. Alex Twal's work on play 3, every single set in midfield. He would carry the ball 10 or 12 meters. There was times when he was doubling up on his efforts where, he would play out the line and go short, and then 2 plays later he'd take a hit up before a kick. I thought that was sensational. We'd love to hurt our line speed when the other team is pinned on their line is just nuts. And then the defensive set before halftime after Hiamasi had his try disallowed was just absurd, because that was the thing. Like, you just had this blow, and it's 2 minutes out from halftime, and we as all West Tigers fans, both the panel and those listening, will know full well that before halftime is not usually the West Tigers' strong suit. But it's been a clear directive this year that they were to muscle up, and they did. And for mine, that set up Dream's try on halftime. I know I just waxed lyrical again about the shape prior, but realistically, we put ourselves in that position via our line speed and our contact for that to happen. Look, second half, inevitably, similar to probably the game against North Queensland, they did come out of the blocks a little bit. But again, I felt there was a sense of inevitability there, even before kickoff, that realistically we were going to get that done, which is a weird old feeling, but one that I've certainly tried to soak in and savor as much as possible. So a wonderful, wonderful day out, and credit to our boys and our coaching staff for orchestrating it.
So I just want to get everybody's feelings on the game just at a really high level. In the run sheet, we talk about what actually won us the game. Let's talk about it. I want to hear from you guys about who you think, performed better than you expected, who you would have given the 3-2-1 to. I want to start with you, Fanatic. I think it might have probably, if I'm mistaken, I'd say that was your favorite viewing experience of the year so far, because I thought Jahream Buller was sensational. I thought it was Jahream Buller's best game of the season. How did you rate his performance? And just talk to us about your feelings in general about the game.
With Buller, as Gus Gould is trying to glaze him, he's not going to be the biggest glazer because it's always me. But yeah, he was really good. I feel like he's been good this year, but I'm yet to give him a 3-2-1 at any point. And it's not because he's been bad, it's just because others have been so good. I didn't give him points this week either, because I had pretty much that entire edge of Dewey, Herbert, and Taruva. They were just unstoppable for me. I think that's what won us the game. Every time we went there, we were pretty much scoring. We were just finding ways to cross over. And like I was one of the biggest flag wavers for Paddy Herbert, and I'm glad that he came out and debut. I was comparing his first half to Staff Patel around 12-20-23 against the Cowboys, because he was just that. Every time he was touching the ball, he was pulling something off, and I just love to see it. I think that edge is what won us the game.
And Kelly, to follow on from Fnatic's point, absolutely, Dewey and Taruva sensational. I want to hear from you. Yeah, at the start, you were talking about your favorite players being, the Woodsy, the Elijah Taylor, Josh Aloya. You must have been wrapped in the performance of Terrell May and Alex Twal on the weekend.
100%. I thought Twali's just gone to another level for us this year. Like, who is that guy? He was on 360 last night, and he's just the nicest bloke as well. Like, he comes across as really, they all are nice, but Twali's just got that real humility about him, that he's just not really loud, not very outspoken. But when he gets that football in his hand, he, Mr. Reliable with his tackling as well, both sides of the ball. He's just had an amazing season. Same with Terrell. He got his meat pie on the weekend, so he's off the nudie run. I was screaming for Twali to get a try because I still haven't seen it live. I was in Japan when he scored at Campbelltown, so haven't seen him score live. But even our bench forwards, like Royce Hunt and Sione didn't play big minutes because of a bit of hamstring tightness. Benji took him off as a bit of a precaution. But Royce Hunt, where is that? We said we bought him in last year for that impact off the bench, and we didn't see it. And then he was sort of told, well, you either get your act together or you can find somewhere else. And he chose to get his act together. And now he's one of the most powerful forwards, not only in our side, but also in the game, like coming off the bench with that impact.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because only over the last 2 days have I started to actually feel a little bit of dread and PTSD I mean, I didn't answer the question that I posed to everybody earlier about that, but like it's long been a conspiracy theory of mine that the reason that the West Tigers are poor is because every other club has a peptides program. And West Tigers don't have a peptides program. And I'm seeing so much heavily coded language. Benji's grueling preseason. Royce Hunt dropped 10 kilos because of Benji's grueling preseason. Sunia Taruva's been stuck into the steak and eggs and is packed on it. And he's in the... And all I can hear is peptides, peptides, peptides. So I'm kind of just waiting for the penny to drop where Stephen Dank comes out and like it turns out that this was all a fever dream and we get all of our competition points taken off us. That's my paranoid delusional conspiracy theory. I'm very hopeful that it's all legitimate, but they look cyborg-like. And I think if you go even down to the New South Wales Cup and you watch the guys that trained with the first graders in the off-season and New South Wales Cup, it's like watching the agents from the Matrix. Charlie Murray's playing like a man possessed in New South Wales Cup, and it's starting to worry me. On Alex Twal, though, I actually have a Twally story. Years and years ago, I got into the dressing rooms after a very famous West Tigers defeat of the Brisbane Broncos at Suncorp. Michael Cheekham scored a match-winning try where he took it from halfway. I was sitting right behind Michael Cheekham, by the way, and as he was coming on the field, I shouted, I said, "Cheekham, make a difference!" And he went on and he did that. So I take credit for that. But I got into the dressing rooms and I suddenly went into my shell. I'm like, oh, it's all the boys, it's all the players. And I couldn't even bring myself to introduce myself to anybody. But here's like 20-year-old Alex Twal there in his underpants, mind you. And I was like, oh, I'll walk up to him because he's just standing there all alone, like he feels like he's out of place. The rest of the boys, Luke Brooks and all of that, they're all in there just going about their business. But Twally hadn't seemed like a fish out of water. And I walked up to him and he was just like, "Hello, sir. My name is Alex. How are you?" And I'm like, "I'm just a random guy, bro. Like, relax, you know?" So to your point, he is a really, really, you are bang on. He's a well-mannered, humble human being. More thoughts on the game? Yeah, over to you. What do you put down that remarkable victory to primarily?
Well, Caleb Fanatic said that that right edge and our edge kind of dominated, but you can only dominate once, you know, a platform is laid. And we call them the JFTA Petrochemicals Engine Room on the Win, Learn or Draw podcast. Honestly, those blokes in the middle at the moment, you said they're cyborg like, they genuinely are. Like they're just running with so much purpose. I feel like they've just been plodding for years, and now all of a sudden they're running about 4.5 meters per second, and it's really kind of, I don't know, it's really helping us make a bit more impact. You know, that body to body kind of impact that we've been lacking for such a long time. We've been dominated in that front, but guys like Terrell May, Twally, even Fanua Pole, I feel like they're hitting harder, you know, when they're running. Defensively, they've always been pretty good, all of them, but yeah, I feel like they're just hitting harder when they're running, and that therefore we're getting quick play the balls. They're landing on their feet. They're doing little kind of like little steps before they hit the defensive line as well, which is kind of like giving them the momentum that they need. So yeah, I'd put it down to those guys, man, in the middle. Like, we don't score, and the way the game's going now, and we'll probably touch on this soon about the fitness, but the way the game's going now, if your forwards are fit and making an impact like that, and you get momentum, the Red Bull momentum tracker will tell you this, you absolutely run away with it. It's a momentum-based game now, and yeah, our forwards are laying that platform.
So you're angling for a Red Bull sponsorship and the petrochemical sponsorship, and you're doing a fabulous job, my friend. Keep it up. Joel, hold your thinking. I want to move on to the next segment just off of the back of Mort's comments there, because it's a good segue. When I throw to you, you can definitely talk about the game as part of the general Why Are We Good deep dive as well. But I wanted to segue there because the next segment is about why we are good. What's different? Like, what is different about the West Tigers this year compared to last year? And more, I think you did hit the nail on the head there. I think it's primarily I actually think it's a symptom. I think that the forwards' impact and the intensity with which they're playing is a symptom of the fitness, as you say. But I also have a little bit of a different perspective. I think with the help of the league eye test, I think I figured out exactly what Benji's game plan is this year. And I think that I figured out what Benji ball is. And I think it's being a ball hog. I think that's what it comes down to. I think that we have rightly ascertained that the rule changes have meant that it is as easy as it's ever been in the NRL to score tries for any team, right? If you have the ball, you have a much higher chance of scoring than if you don't have the ball, to a degree that is much, much, much more apparent than it ever has been before. And I think that the statistics actually show that to be the case, because right now we are leading the NRL in average time in possession at 55% overall. And on the weekend against Newcastle, we starved them of possession. We had about a 60-40 possession count, which is absolutely unheard of in the NRL era. And then as soon as they finally got ball at the end of the game, even after all that momentum and all that defense they did, they still managed to score 3 tries. So I think the proof's in the pudding. And I think that, to your point, Mort, the way that the forwards are playing the game in defense is about minimizing the time and possession that the opposition have with the ball, shortening up the ruck, getting up fast, cutting down the backline movements. And on the flip side, you can see we're playing with huge depth and sweeping back and forth all the time. And we're also the highest offloading team in the NRL, which is another way to just increase the set length that we have versus the opposition, who are still playing that more traditional one out, 3 rucks, spread out on the fourth, have a crack, come back, kick the ball kind of game plan. Joel, I'll throw it over to you. What is, in your opinion, the biggest reason that we've improved this year? And more importantly, do you think that it's actually a game plan that's sustainable for the rest of the year?
I don't see any signs to think that it's not sustainable. I mean, we're not racking up huge amounts of injuries. I think we were fatigued at the end of that game against Newcastle, but I think that was a pretty physical game 6 days before against Parramatta, and I think we probably ran out of gas a little bit. I mean, you answered a lot of the points. So I think ultimately it's a simple game, and it is a lot more like touch football than it used to be if you look at the speed of the play the ball. And I think it just comes down to good, hard, straight running, and it's having players coming through in numbers and having multiple attacking, creative people as well in the team. That's what I like about this team as compared to maybe where we were a few years ago, was if you shut down one player, typically that was kind of us done for the day. But now you've got 5 or 6 different attacking options there to go to, and each brings something, each are a little bit different. And you can sort of then, if you've got that versatility, adapt that to the game that you're playing, the opponent that you're up against. Sometimes you need someone like a Madden who just straightens things up and controls the game pretty well, has a good kicking game. But other times you just throw caution to the wind and you throw it around, and you get results that way. But you're 100% right about possession. You need to have possession. You need to have the ball. And when you have the ball, you need to get it to where you want to hand it over to the opposition as well. It's not just about having the ball and rucking it out in your own, out from your own goal line all day, but it's about actually making those yards and getting it downfield. But I think the biggest thing that's different for us, aside from the fact that they just look happier and more connected, perhaps there aren't the divisive people that we had 12 months ago that were driving a wedge through the camp, which I think was what was happening. I think that winning the first contact in defence as well. It's not just the good, hard, straight running, simple rugby league, and it's actually winning that collision. And we haven't done that for years. And unless you're winning that collision, then you're not winning the play the ball speed. So I think there's a lot there, and I think we're also a lot fitter, and I think that makes a difference as well. So I don't think it's a very complicated thing to look at. I think it's some pretty simple things that we've done, and it's really effective. And the mark of a good team is when you get to the end of the game and you have a debate about who the best players were. We could probably pick 5 or 6 there. I had Twal and I had Madden and I had Terrell there, and then the other guys made the points. Well, what about Royce Hunt? I mean, how amazing was he? Buller, what a game from Buller. And that's you're going to have those sorts of performances if you're going to do something in this game where you've got multiple attacking threats and multiple best players.
Yeah, and like somebody who's barely rated a mention on this episode of the podcast, so it hasn't at all seemed well at Fainu with
KP.
KPP. But what about Fainu's run? Brandon Smith puts him on his ass, and then 25 meters up the field. Say the line, Reedie. What is it?
Which line was it?
When you do the fend thing, you often say this very funny thing that makes me laugh all the time. You're like bang or something like that. Anyway, I digress. So I think me and you, Joel, are on the same page. Peptides, I agree. Kelly, what's your take on it?
Yeah.
think it's a combination of definitely the fitness, but the big thing I'm taking away from any interview you see with the team is the connection between the players. You've just got to watch Terrell's game day or weekly vlogs to see the boys are together all the time. Twiley said last night on 360 that they have a mandated fortnightly dinner where the team goes out to dinner together. And on Terrell's vlog from last week, they had breakfast after the game. They had dinner 2 nights before the game, so the Easter long weekend. Then they had lunch at Terrell's place. He was cooking them a barbecue. Like, they just are all gelling, and you see them on socials always hanging out together. And both Twiley and KPP said last night on 360 that they basically will do anything for anybody that's out there on the field with them. And I think that's really helped to, we know exactly this time last year, it was 12 months ago yesterday, where, the proverbial hit the fan with Lockie Galvin. And I think that was the beginning of the galvanizing of the rest of the team that stayed together. Everybody sort of, yes, Romy and Teets got into a little bit of trouble with their social media stuff, but the way that the team came together for the rest of that year, and then you see the doco that they did at the beginning of this year with the army camp, like, it really does look like they would take a bullet for each other. They just look so connected, and that pays off on the field when you know exactly what the man inside you is going to do, and you have complete faith that he's going to do that. That completely changes the way that all of them play the game.
Yes, you could say they're playing very faithful.
You could, indeed.
One thing that I keep seeing jokes about is that the West Tigers are the Pacifica Tigers. You guys seen that? Like, people keep pointing out how the whole team seems to just be Pacifica. I mean, there might be some validity to it, but that may actually be part of what's making this team so powerful, because they're probably all very culturally similar. They're able to relate to one another on a real deep community level, and maybe that's actually playing a part. Fnatic. Aside from the fact that we have your favourite player at fullback, why do you think that the West Tigers have turned around our fortunes so drastically this season?
One thing I do want to quickly touch on, Kelly was talking about it, how the boys would do anything for each other. With Buller specifically, there was one key moment, I think it was in the Para game, that I'm pretty sure Joash Papali'i stood over the top of Luke Lilili, I'm pretty sure. And then Buller came over and pushed Joash out of the way, which I've never seen Buller show oomph like that before. So really good to see he's not taking disrespect over his teammates or anything like that, which doesn't feel like a part of his character. So I just love to see that. In terms of, I do think it is how much the boys will do anything for each other on and off the field. And it's showing, it's working. We have I have so many creator mates that are trying to get to Tigers games specifically, whether they're Tigers fans or not. They couldn't care less about any of the other 15 teams in the comp besides their own, but they want to get to Tigers games because they just want to see we're the most exciting team in the comp, and they want to see that. They want to feel the game day experience, the experience that the fans give. I don't know. I'm still trying to come to terms with the fact that we're a good football team. It's going to take me a couple of weeks to adjust, but I think it's the fact that the team is just there for each other at all times.
A word that gets used a lot, I think, that gets lost on fans, but people who are, have been part of football teams, sports teams, close-knit teams, is belief. And to me, it feels like not only do the players have belief, but it feels like, aside from the fan base, everyone else has started to believe. Other teams' fans, to your point, Fnatic, believe. Media pundits believe. And obviously the players and Benji Marshall believe. I agree with you. I've noticed it too. You see comments online from other clubs that may or may not be doing so well this year, and just being like, I saw one comment that said something like, I'm a Melbourne Storm fan and I get more nervous watching Tigers games than Storm games. What's wrong with me? I don't understand it. It's like there's this energy that's swept across the whole league where they've got Tigers fever. I don't want to excite you guys. I mean, Kelly and Joel and Mort, you guys would probably remember it, but that's what it was like in 2005. When the Tigers are a good club, it sweeps across the league like a fever. We were everyone's second favorite team in 05. and it sort of catches on like a virus. And you guys would see, the highlight packages of the '05 era back in the day. And we were away games. We were like dominating the stands. In the finals, it was just orange everywhere. Mort, talk to me about your perspective. Do you have a unique take to add, or do you want to echo other people's sentiments?
On how we've improved? What's improved for us?
Yeah.
I think everyone's pretty much hit the nail on the head. You said the word belief. I think that kind of probably translates into attitude as well. There just seems to be, I think Fanatic said it as well, like Buller pushing someone, like there's a bit of aggro attitude there. Then there's also like a bit of swagger attitude, like coming from a few of our guys. And there just seems to be, it's all culminating into belief. But at the moment, it's just feels like from the fan base and from the players and the coaching staff, there's just a bit of attitude there, a bit of oomph and a bit of Penrith about us, which is exciting to see.
Yes, finally the effects maybe of Luai and Taruva and those other outside signings. Reedie, I'll give you the final word, and then I'll let you take it away for the Brisbane review.
I'm going to get very technical. There are two stats that we are up on considerably this year. Run meters, we are third in the league on average. We've run for 280 meters more than what we did last season per game. And missed tackles. Now, while that may be a unicorn stat in a lot of ways, and the Bulldogs actually had the best defense in the league, I think it was in 24, despite missing the most tackles. Realistically, that speaks to our first up contact. So what does that mean? It means more reps, time on the wrestling mat. Mort mentioned sort of our late footwork from our forward pack late at the line, their fitness and their conditioning and their strength work. And that's a credit to our coaching staff, Peter Musa, Benji Marshall. These sorts of guys, they deserve a massive rap for that. We've built this forward pack that is going to have a really interesting month. There's no doubt about it. But what they are doing for us in terms of laying a platform has been second to none. You only have to go and have a look at the game against the New Zealand Warriors, where the first 15 minutes or so, we dog walked what I believe is the best pack in the league. So look, it's a very, very simple game, rugby league. The forwards go forward and the backs score tries. And we're doing that. And obviously, there's a lot of shade and fraud about the halves, but as long as this forward pack continues to lay that platform on both sides of the ball, I think we can be confident about us playing postseason football in September and beyond. Let's talk about this game upcoming, our second on the bounce at Campbelltown, this time on Saturday, so a 6-day turnaround for our lot. They are playing the premiers, the Brisbane Broncos, and it is very, very mindful. We have to be mindful of the fact that they are the premiers. Ins and outs for our wonderful team. We are just about at full strength. We can argue over semantics, but I think we just about have our best 19 named for this. Finney moves from left centre to left wing this week. Because Taylor May, or Batman as he prefers to be named, is at left centre. Paddy Herbert keeps his spot on the right. Jerome Luai returns again to build that premier left edge. He is our 5'8", and Captain Adam Dewey remains in the 7 jersey, but obviously his role will change, and we will get to that. The forward pack, we've spoken about them ad nauseum. You know who they are. There's been no change. The bench reads as follows: Jock Madden, Sione Fainu, Royce Hunt, Alex Seafarth, Latu Fainu, and Luke Loudley will make his return from suspension off the bench. The Broncos, there's a little bit of surgery going on, but it's worth mentioning that for the most part, this squad looks very, very similar to the one that was there on grand final day, Reece Walsh aside. Their 2 to 7 remains the exact same way it was, apart from Ben Hunt on the first Sunday in October last year. Josh Rogers, this is a match special, playing a big body, starting at 9 before a smaller, less experienced bloke comes on. In this week, it's going to be Cameron Bukovski making his debut. Hopefully we spoil it for you. No offense, Cameron. Xavier Willison, who isn't a 13's arsehole, in my opinion, is the 13 this week, replacing the suspended Patrick Carrigan. The bench for them, Tom Duffy, who I thought had an excellent game, looking to live up to his enormous potential, has been moved from jersey 7 to 14. Ben Tolte is there. I thought he had a phenomenal game last week in a losing side. Jaden Hunt is there. Jack Jasiewski, I think he's got PTSD from the last time when Sione Fainu dog walked him on his way to the try line. Va'a Semu, very, very good player, but very inexperienced for mine. And Hayes Perham, the Canterbury's finest, he rounds out the extended bench. I do mention that in a lot of ways that, this side has a lot of the pieces that were there on grand final day last year, and we have to be mindful of that. Like, yes, we've got our tails up. We do. But realistically, this is a Brisbane side who have never lost at Campbelltown, and they have a halfback who, regardless of whether or not he's on one leg, loves to play against us. He's scored plenty of 2-point field goals. He's taken intercepts. He's chipped and chased. He makes us look second rate, and it's the Mitchell Moses thing again. This conditioning that we as Tigers fans possess, and yes, in a lot of ways, he is father time and he is slow. And chances are he will go off in the 55th minute like he does every single week. But as long as he is named in that side, it is a concern. Katani Staggs is in career best form. I think he's been phenomenal. And obviously that forward pack, like realistically, they've got 3 great yardage guys in that forward pack. And it is going to be important that we neutralise the effects of obviously Payne or Hakeem Haas. That goes without saying. But Corey Jensen is a very, very underrated player. Xavier Willison, he's a mountain. Close to the line, we're going to have to be very, very mindful with him. I feel a little bit better that, Pakes and Benny Hunt aren't there. Realistically, these are threats and they will utilise them. But in terms of where, it is for us in terms of their weaknesses, it's their left edge defensively, our right in attack. Ezra Mam is struggling out there at the moment. Teams are putting bodies on his inside and outside shoulder and forcing him to make decisions, and he's coming up with the wrong ones time and time again. Who had a career year last year, deserved all the plaudits. I thought he was phenomenal. Realistically, hasn't come to the party this year, and when they do play to Mam's outside shoulder, he's not covering. So that is where the points are. But look, I think what is going to definitely dominate conversation, unless I'm completely wrong, is going to be the chat around our halves pairing. And I'd like to get some insights around what people think we're going to see. Because realistically, we didn't see Jerome and Adam atone for their sins against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. There was never a chance for that because obviously Jerome did his MCL and he exited stage right. How is Adam Dewey realistically going to fare with going back to playing the role of being the organiser, being the pass before the pass, and creating the space for the man outside him as opposed to being the man who has the space because of the work done on the inside?
Let's throw it over to you, Mort.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, right? Trying to fit all these halves into 2 spots. My suggestion on the Win, Learn or Draw podcast was perhaps to play 3 halves, and then, all of a sudden we can fit them all in. I think, Dewey will play whatever role he's given, right? Like he's the king of versatility. I'm sure he'll play the role that Benji needs him to. Where I think we'll win it, though, to be honest, is that period, that Tiger period that we've been dominating, that 30 to 40 minute mark. I think our bench compared to their bench is just an absolute landslide in ability. So I think when those kind of first interchanges come and they get their kind of starting props off and their starting forwards off, I think that's where we'll start to make a big impact. So we just got to kind of weather the storm for the first 25, 30 minutes. And then, my big kind of worry, as you've already mentioned, Reedie, is Adam Reynolds. He's terrifying when he has the ball against us. His kicking game is just second to none, right? And I feel like I couldn't agree more that we've really got to pay our respect that they are the premiers, right? We're coming in as like $1.50 favourites, which is just crazy. And we deserve it. But we've really got to pay our respect and not go in complacent. So it's going to be a tough game. But if we win that kind of middle forward battle, especially off the bench there and contain Reynolds as best we can, I think we're in with a big shot.
You got us a prediction, Mort?
Every week, 13 plus at the moment. We're actually averaging 31 points to the opposing team's 18. So even with a loss in there, we're still averaging over 13 plus. So look, honestly, if we get that momentum like we have been doing in the last few games, I can't see how that isn't a possibility. But I do think we'll win this, but not comfortably. Only 13 on the dot.
31-18?
31-18, there you go.
It sounds about right. Kelly, how do you feel about this game and how many points do you think we're going to win it by?
How do I feel about this game? Anytime the words favourites and West Tigers are in the same sentence, it's always a worry. But we were favourites on on Sunday against Newcastle. We had so many hoodoos against us on Sunday and we broke all of them. The 3 in a row, Campbelltown, favourites, having a signing after the game. All of those things in the past we usually lose and lose miserably. But the tide has turned. As Benji said, that's all in the past. This is this year. Things are different. So I'm going to go Tigers by 12.
Joel?
Yeah, it's a hard one to sort of be too confident about, just given the history. I mean, as you said, they've never lost the closest we got, of course, was day one back in 2024 all. It's always been a pretty happy hunting ground for the Broncos. I mean, yeah, in regards to that South game and the attack of Dewey and Luai, I don't really know if it's a very accurate sort of description or assessment of the way that they play together, because I think their South's line speed that night was excellent. They really crowded us for space, and they're probably physically the best team that we've faced so far. So I was disappointed in that loss, but I could understand why we lost that game. And what happened was that they pushed us into going too sideways, and I think we learnt from that, and we're going more direct. So I think they'll be better than what we saw in that game, in short. There's always some injury stuff around the Broncos. Apparently Haas has got a bit of a hamstring injury as well, so that might play into our hands a little bit. I think the trick is to get off to a good start again. That had started to creep into our game, and we started so much better against the Knights and got that momentum earlier. So we need a good start, good discipline. I loved the discipline against Newcastle. I thought it was great. You know, there wasn't a 6 again, after 6 again, after 6 again. We were really tight with that. So we cannot give them any free ground, any free passes. And obviously possession, very, very important. Being a night game, I think we've got a better record from memory in night games than we do in day games. I could be incorrect there, but I think we typically perform better at night, so I'm not so concerned about that. In saying all that, I think it's going to be close, and I'm actually thinking it's going to be something along the lines of that Cronulla game last year at Leichhardt, where it's sort of ebbing and flowing, and might end up at Golden Point, and then it's a lottery. I think we're in it. I think we've got every chance of winning the game.
Interesting. It's an interesting one because if we get to Golden Point, the West Tigers don't really have much by way of field goal exponents, and you would think Jock Madden would be the primary one. So maybe with carrying Jock Madden on the bench, if we do find ourselves hitting the 80th minute mark, maybe we sub him on just for Golden Point or something like that. Fanatic, how do you see this one shaping up?
Kelly touched on it with all the Hooters that are now broken. 3 in a row one. I said I'd sleep outside Campbelltown. I'm so glad I didn't have to if we didn't win. And then the Campbelltown, it's always been Campbelltown curse, but we won last week and we're going to win this week. And we're going to turn Campbelltown from a curse to a fortress. Campbelltown's going to be a place that, just like Leichhardt, other clubs are going to be scared to play at. I also think we're going to win 13 plus. I think I said we're going to win by 16 on the potty. I can't remember what my actual prediction was. But yeah, I feel good. Broncos are also missing quite a lot of big names, not just Walsh. They're also missing Pat Carrigan and Ben Hunt as well. So it's like they are depleted. We are literally full strength. I'm pretty sure we have no one out at all. And I think the squad that we've named could not really get much better as well. I think we've sorted out our best backline formation, and I'm happy with how the bench looks as well. So yeah, I feel it just depends on if we take them seriously or if we're just going to think it's going to be a walk in the park. But I'm pretty sure Benji won't let them think that, and they're going to take it seriously. And I feel good. I feel like we're going to win. Take it 4 in a row for the first time since 2012.
Wow, has it been that long? That's absolutely bananas. Look, I agree. I think that it'd be hard to tip against the Tigers if you're anyone with a subjective opinion, maybe even if Brisbane was full strength, because going on form and going on the way the two teams shape up and the two teams play, the Tigers match up quite well with Brisbane. The Tigers defensively are extremely hard to score on. Brisbane are actually defensively relatively fragile. This is a side that had 40 points put on them by Parramatta only a couple of weeks ago, for example, if I'm not mistaken. Where Brisbane win games is when they get momentum and when they get a roll on, they can be really, really hard to stop, and they can put on a lot of points very quickly, and they can basically run away with games in that respect. But so far, no sides have been able to do that to the Tigers. The Tigers are the ones that are controlling the momentum of the game, controlling the ball. I think that cutting down the impact that somebody like Payne Haas can have on the game is critical there. If Payne Haas can do his customary 15-meter carries and get through the first line of defense and then create second phase and stuff like that, that stuff can very well lead to cumulative benefit to them and they can build momentum off the top of that. But like I can't remember which one of you brought it up. I think it was you, Kelly. Our bench, when they come on, I feel like that they're going to, probably take a lot more advantage of the state of the Brisbane side at those times than Brisbane will be able to do when both sides have their full strength middles on the field. Terrell May and Alex Swall will probably be able to actually limit Payne Haas's impact on the game, especially without Patrick Carrigan and without Reece Walsh at the back. They don't even really have their usual attacking impetus. Adam Reynolds doesn't worry me as much as everybody else for some reason. I just never have been. I remember a time when Adam Reynolds actually wasn't really a threat to the West Tigers, by the way, in the mid-teens when Souths weren't that great. We had a great run of putting it on Adam Reynolds. So I don't know. I've never really had a too big of a concern about him. But what I look forward to is the West Tigers actually bringing back some sort of left edge attack, because we have been so right-sided since Jerome Luai and Taylor May were out. Marcy on the left and Skelton and Luke Lolalii, battering rams. Never really on the end of any kind of backline movements. And what you see is when Madden and Dewey are in the halves, Madden plays a very traditional first receiver role. Dewey's very much training on the right-hand side, and all of his play is very right-hand sided. When Luai and Dewey were both in the side was much more evenly split, where you had Luai running plays on the left and you had Dewey running plays on the right. And more, your point about three halves is actually not that far-fetched, because early on in the season, we saw Latu Fainu coming on the field much earlier in the game and playing that 13 role so that he can actually unlock them on both sides of the field. That wasn't so much happening after Luai came out, because they changed the entire way that they were playing, which I like, because it means that the Tigers actually have different modes. And I was actually thinking about this earlier in the week. I think that we actually have our stock standard mode, which is that Adam Dewey and Luai both being run threat halves, not past first halves, is very, very good semi-final style football. Very simple, very run-centric, lowering the opportunities for us to lose the ball. It suits a semi-final style team, whereas I think that the Jock Madden style, where it's much more traditional and a lot of sweeping movements and digging into the ruck, is more of a regular season style of play. But anyway, I'll stop prattling on now, and I will say I think the Tigers put 40 on Brisbane. I think it's going to be 40-18 or something like that. Jared, do you want to wrap this segment up and we'll move on to pathways?
Yeah, I think it'll be tight, mate. I've got us winning this one, but it won't be by much. I'm going to say 26-24. Let's go straight into pathways. Kelly, I know you were there for the first half, and I'm sure you would have been disappointed to hear that we did go down in this one. I thought we did very, very well to get ourselves back into the lead against the top-ranked side in the league, so that'll hurt. And look, Newcastle scored their last try pretty early. There was plenty of time to get it done, but unfortunately not to be. Just chalk it up as another loss in a game where we genuinely had a good chance to win, which is disappointing for these boys, but it is a learning experience. It was really important from a personnel point of view that Tristan Hope got a blowout. Credit to our conditioning staff. He didn't miss a trick. The try that he laid on early for Fainga'a via that grubber kick that just rolled along the deck was sensational. You can tell there's a few teething problems around a few different players. Heath Mason's still getting used to the centres. You can see that with a few of his defensive reads. There was an offload that he made, and off went James Schiller in the second half to score a try. I'm sure that would have hurt. I think that realistically, for the most part, with our younger boys, the Tautuas and the Addards of the world, they're just getting used to the contact. I'd expect that within a few months, they'll build on that. Javon Andrews was phenomenal. I think, the way that he plays his footy at the line is first class and speaks to how much time and presence that he has on the field. And Solomon Asaukuru, I think it's 6 tries in 6 games now. He monstered James Schiller, who is a first grader for mine, out now first grader on his way to the try line. That certainly wasn't on my bingo card. I thought that was excellent. But again, one to chalk up as a loss. 2 wins I want to focus on in other grades. Jersey flag. Riley Ointman, if you want to anoint a player of the week for the pathways, he was it. Brilliant game to open his account, really strong out of yardage, great finishing, fast as hell. And he hasn't lost any explosiveness after he's put on a stack of weight over the summer. Jericho Felipe Talisao, I think he's from the Warriors. He was in import late. He started at 13 these last couple of weeks in place of Jesli Adagaga. And he stepped it up. There was some poor defence around the Newcastle middle, but he scored a fantastic try nonetheless. Go and give it a look if you haven't already. Two players of interest to finish. Ethan Roberts, second game back this week, scored a try. And I'm pretty sure we scored off one of his offloads as well. I think he'll convert to the middle eventually, young Ethan. A lot of his skill set, the offload, the physicality and contact using his bumpers, I think it'll work. I just don't know if he possesses the leg speed or the flair that is required to play on an edge in the higher grades. But if I'm wrong, not a problem at all. But nonetheless, a wonderful talent. And Phoenix Godinez is a player that we've watched very, very closely this year. For mine, I thought that was his best game, just simply on involvement rate. Scored a try late, and that's a credit to him and his talent. But I'm hopeful that we see a continuation in that level of effort and desire to get involved. The last one, Lisa Fiaola won their semi-final, which was amazing, given that they finished the regular season in 8th. But my God, they battered the Penrith Panthers. It was sensational. Look, they were ahead from the start. It was a great try from the back row, the left edge back row, to get over early. Our halfback, the number 7, she made an unreal run to capitalise on a quick play of the ball to find the line for our second try. And the number 16 combo, she scored 2 tries. First one was the textbook front rower try. The second one was off a classy offload from one Nia Rose Niamata. But the play of the day, our fourth try, bit of shape off the scrum. Malia Cracker-Cosby sort of plays nice and square, isolates Penrith into a 2-on-2. Dawn Tui, who was originally named a hooker but was playing fullback, she pokes her head through the line and offloads around the corner for Kiana Munro, and she lights up the left stick to score. So those girls played the fourth place Central Coast Roosters this week. They lost to them 18-6 in the regular season. But in finals football that it counts for nothing. It's a totally different game. So good luck with the girls this week, and congratulations to all the winners in our Pathways grades this week, and commiserations to Tarsu Gale who finished off their season with a loss last week.
And shout outs to you. What a servant to the club, watching and reporting on Lisa Faola and Tasha Gale and all the Pathways. Also want to give a shout out to Shane Sultana, who reached out to us via Instagram throughout the week. For those who don't know, that's the Jersey flag coach. He reached out to us via Instagram, saw a post that we put up about Logan Brooks and replied and gave Logan a bit of a shout out, which I'm sure Logan would be happy to hear his coach giving him a bit of a shout out. And we're hoping we'll get Shane on the podcast over the next couple of weeks to talk about ball and Jersey flag and coaching in general. Before we move on to our next segment, I don't want to spend too much time on Pathways, but I just want to give an opportunity. If you don't want to participate because you don't follow Pathways super closely, that's totally fine. Just say, sorry, I don't really have an opinion on this subject. But if there's one player in our Pathways that does excite you the most, who is it? Let's start with you, Fanatic.
I'm excited to see the future of the Javon Andrews and Ethan Roberts. They're the two that I feel like could have a bright future with us. Especially Ethan Roberts. I feel like he could crack first grade at some point this year. I'm not too caught up with pathway stuff, but I feel like Ethan Roberts could crack first grade at some point this year. So I'm quite interested to see if he gets a chance at probably towards either the Origin period or if we have some Origin players. Whether or not Laurie Daly picks them is a completely different story to if they deserve a spot. So if we do have a couple names in Origin, yep. Ethan Roberts potentially getting a call up on the 6-man bench. So yeah, really excited to see if he crack it.
One player to watch for you, Joel.
Yeah, I'm also on the Ethan Roberts bandwagon. I think 6'5" physically, he's very impressive. I think he's got first grade written all over him. I think maybe not so much this year, but next year. And Javon Andrews, when you can tell with a half when they sort of feel like they've got time on their side, and he's that player. And I think both those guys are future first graders somewhere, somehow. I don't know where that'll be and how it'll work out, but yeah, I've got my eyes on those two, and of course Jack Goddard as well. I mean, yeah, his career is going to be one to watch as well. I don't know what's going to happen with these guys. Phoenix Godinez, it's very interesting.
I don't know, like, about you guys, but like, I mean, it's good that you had 3, but I did only ask for one. More, one player from Pathways, please.
Jared Hayward for me.
I love it.
I'm, really excited to see, I guess, him get some tutelage under Appy Coruscant as well. Like, what a great mentor to have. He just looks so exciting when he's got ball in hand. And you watch that preseason doco and you're like, he means business, right? Like, he's going to be a big, big future of the club. And we got all these young, spine players coming through. And I think he's just going to be a leader of the club for a long, long time. So, yeah, Jared Hayward for me, mate.
And finally, Kelly, one player from the club before we wrap things up with a talk about the rest of the season and our expectations.
Yeah, my one's Charlie Murray. I just think that guy, every time he takes the field, he gives 110%. He's probably not built like your regular 13, but he gets into that line and manages to get the ball free and offload, and that's really what helped us win both of those preseason games was his ability to get the second phase play. And I think for his size, I think he plays with a huge heart.
All excellent takes, and I agree with all of them. I'll reserve my opinion. People who listen to this podcast know what we feel about Pathways, and we have way too strong of opinions about it. Let's talk about how far we can go. We've got about 10 minutes left before Reedie has to go, so we'll try to wrap things up pretty quickly. I will give everyone about 2 minutes to talk. I want to talk about where we're going to finish this season, what our ceiling versus floor is. I want you guys to speak from the heart. I want you guys to speak from the heart. I want you guys to be honest. I want you guys to dream big, but at the same time, say what's really on your mind. The floor is yours. And finish off your section with a player of the year prediction. Let's start with you, Kelly.
Okay, so where do we finish? I think that we can finish in 6th. I think our ceiling is definitely 3rd or 4th, and our floor is the dreaded 9th. I just think it would be peak Tigers for us to start the season this way and then finish in 9th. And my player of the year prediction is none other than Alex.
Love that. Let's go with you, Joel.
It's a little bit copy paste. I'm also in the 12 bandwagon, and we're talking about peptides. I think his urine needs to be tested. He was on the train to Plottersville a couple of years ago, and the turnaround in Alex 12.
Melt the test tube, brother.
Something has to be going on there. It's not right. Some of his carries last week against the Knights, they have to be absolutely get a gold star. He was amazing. Just took the ball and gave us those 10 metres. So Twal at the moment is a nose in front of everybody else, I reckon. I'm also thinking about 6th spot. Look, since the bad apple that was ruining the bunch left 12 months ago, we've been at 50% win record. If you look at how we finished last year, and we're now better than 50%. If we can keep it at about 50% from here on, that'll get us in the bottom half of the top 8. So if the winds keep blowing the right way and we can just keep it at 50%, then it's a moot point, isn't it? We're going to make it. We just mathematically will make it. So we're on track for that. I can't see any reason to think that that's going to change. Touch wood, of course, because injuries and stuff happens. But that's what I'm thinking. Bottom half of the 8.
How about you, Reedie?
Ceiling 2nd, I think where we are now. Floor about 10th. Again, it's just that feeling around conditioning. And obviously, we have been here before in 2018, as Mort said at the very, very top of the episode. Player of the year would have been the man that is pissing hot, Alex 12, but everybody else has said it. So I'm going to go that man that I spoke about earlier. That's my favourite player, Coruscant. I think he's been phenomenal this year, and I think it'll continue, providing that we manage his workloads towards the end of the year.
Fanatic, over to you.
I actually think we're going to have a joint winner for Player of the Year, just like we did when Dane Laurie and Luke Brooks had it. I think it's going to be Alex Twal and Adam Dewey. They've both been exceptional. By far, I think our 2 best players this year. In terms of our floor and ceiling, I think our floor is 9th. I don't see us going lower than 9th, but I still can imagine a world where we don't make the 8 somehow. But I think our ceiling is 1st. Penrith, they're going to fall off. We're going to win one, and then we're going to win the comp from there.
Mort.
Yeah, I got ceiling at 4th. I think if we scrape into the top 4, that's an absolutely astounding result and probably our ceiling. My floor to ceiling is a little bit lower. I think 13th. We made these kind of predictions at the start of the year, and I think a realistic ending to the season is 7th to 8th. But yeah, you can't count your chickens, can you? It's just so weird as a Tigers fan. I think Kelly brought it up that when we were up 28-4 after half time and it was like silence in there in Campbelltown Stadium because everyone's like, how we're playing so well, we're up by 24, but how are we going to lose this? Everyone's kind of scratching their head, and then we end up, getting the win. My player of the year, I have him as a potential Dally M second row of the year. I think Sam Fainu will be our player of the year again. He's so impactful in that squad. He's so young, he's so fit, he's so athletic. I think he's as good as attacking weapon as he is a defensive weapon. He's just great on both sides of the ball and yeah, clearly a forward leader as well. So Sam Fainu for me.
I kind of feel a little bit more like Fnatic than the rest of you guys. I find it hard to imagine that our ceiling can be anything less than first, considering that's where we're currently sitting equal. I feel like obviously our ceiling, it's only if what we're seeing falls off somehow that it would be not. Obviously, by the same token, our floor is probably losing the rest of the games of the entire season and finishing last. But I digress. I actually am with you, Fnatic. I actually think we are going to finish the season as the minor premiers. I genuinely do. I don't think it's that big of a call either, because I feel like look at last year's minor premiers. Like, nobody would have predicted Canberra being minor premiers at the start of the season last year, and away they went. Now, they didn't win the comp, but hey, we do feel like the 2026 Canberra Raiders of 2025, from my opinion. The vibes is very similar. So I'm thinking we're going to be the minor premiers. I think our floor genuinely is actually, I like it, Kelly. I think our floor's ninth. I actually feel like that if we don't make the finals, it probably does end in us finishing ninth, because that's how the world likes to laugh at the West Tigers. My player of the year, again, I kind of vibe in what you said, Fnatic. I don't know whether they'll give it to a dual winner. It'd have to be, based on the fact that both Dewey and 12 play out the whole seasons, but your names resonate with me. I think that they'll probably give it to Twally if they both keep performing the way they are, just because he's the one club man. He's been with us for so long and he deserves the accolades, and my God, what a season he's having. Before we move on, let's just do one off-script section real quickly. Do you guys think that we're going to get any Origin players this year, Joel?
I don't think so. No. I can't see it happening. I don't think Terrell is the guy that I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve it. He does deserve it. He's a great player, but I don't see them picking him. And they will go for a less flashy, less creative hooker, I'm sure. And I don't see many other options. So no. And I'm going to be a little bit selfish here and say I hope we don't, because I want to keep winning. I want us to get this 15-year thing off our back.
Yeah, I kind of, the last point you make is super valid. When I talk about Origin, I think about Origin. That's the next thing I think about. I always go, man, imagine suddenly they pick Samuel Afinu and Twal, and then we're playing through the Origin period without them and without Appy. It'd be like, holy crap, what another reason for us to lose this momentum. Imagine if that was what derailed our season, how tragic that would be. Do you reckon we're going to get any Origin selections this year?
Mate, I'm starting to believe that Origin's a bit of a gimmick anyway. Like, put it at the end of the season, make it an all-star game. Like, it's to your point, if it ruins our season, I'm going to be spitting absolute chips. The only person I could imagine getting a call up, honestly, is Dewey, because of his versatility and getting in that 19-man squad.
Interesting.
I think, well, he can cover 1 to 13, basically.
I like it.
And he's playing some really sensational footies. Yeah, maybe 18, 19 for Dewey. Those other guys. I said 12 pre-season. I don't know why. I don't know, maybe I saw him at the same pep. Oh, clearly I've been in the peptides as well. So I saw him at the same gym. But no, I knew he was going to have a big year. But yeah, he just for who he's up against means that he's not going to get a forward spot.
Fnatic, what do you reckon, mate?
I said it earlier. I think that there are some players that if you went off a form or anything, they would honestly deserve spots. Dewey and Twila are the two that I'm come to think of. But it's Laurie Daly. He couldn't pick Terrell May, and that was right there on a silver platter for him. And I just don't trust Laurie Daly will make the right decision. I don't rate him as a New South Wales coach. And so yeah, I think I would put Dewey at 14, and I would probably put Twile at least in the camp. And arguably a 6-man bench spot if there was room. Terrell, potentially Appy, I could see getting picked as well. But yeah, I just don't think any. Like, I think they deserve it, but I don't think they'll get picked. Any of them.
Last word, Kelly. Do you reckon that any of our boys are going to get selected?
I don't think, no. I don't think they will, for all of the reasons that we've sort of said around Laurie Daly more than anything. But someone brought up, I was listening to something the other day, that Luai's still got time to prove that he could at least get a spot on that bench as well, especially with the question mark over Mitchell Moses' head at the moment. He's not exactly playing his best football at the moment. So that could be a way that Luai gets his name on the sheet. Everybody else that you guys have all mentioned deserves it for, toiling away over the years and putting on the performances that they are this year. But unfortunately, I just don't see it because of the badge that they wear week to week.
All right, that'll do us for this amazing episode. Thank you so much for coming on. I'll just quickly say one last thing. I disagree with all of you. I think Alex Twal is going to get selected. I genuinely do. I know Laurie Daly actually has an issue with West Tigers players, but who would have an issue with Alex Twal, right? I know Laurie Daly likes Alex Twal. Everybody likes Alex Twal. And the origin certainty that immortal Max King is out with a broken jaw. So there is a spot there for him. This has been West Tigers Faithful. It's been so awesome to have you all on. NRL Fanatic, Heart of the Jungle Pod with Matty G, Mort from Winland, I'll Draw Joel from the famed, fabled West Tigers podcast. Kelly's launching Hear Her Roar this week, so go check that out. This has been Mac. This has been Reedie, West Tigers Faithful. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that junk. Get around it. Up the Tigers. Screw Madge. We're coming for you, baby. Goodbye.